Good morning. I'm Valarie Cofield, President and CEO of the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. Welcome to Doing Business with the City of Philadelphia's webinar. It's brought to you by EMSDC in partnership with the Office of Councilmember Derek S. Green and the City of Philadelphia's Department of Procurement. Today's webinar is designed to provide information about the City of Philadelphia's programs, opportunities, and services for diverse businesses, as well as serve as a forum to answer questions and listen to concerns and suggestions. I challenge everyone to use today's session to gather information on doing business with the city, identify resources to support the sustainability of your business, get answers to your pressing questions or concerns, and finally, to offer thoughtful insight, feedback, and suggestions to the city on improving the engagement, support, and sustainability of diverse businesses in our city and region. We will be answering questions and responding to comments at the end of the session, so please use the chat room to post your questions and comments. Our moderators will be compiling the questions and comments for answer at the end of today's session. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Councilman Derek S. Green, and to thank him for always answering my calls and making room to have important conversations and bringing resources to the community. I've gotten to know Councilman Green as a neighbor and community representative, so I know personally that he is laser focused on driving change that improves the quality of life for the residents and businesses of this city and region. As a member of City Council, Councilman Green chairs the Council Committee on Finance and Disabilities and serves as Vice Chair of the Committees on Aging and Law and Government. Additionally, he serves as chair of the Philadelphia Gas Commission. Before his election, Councilman Green was the special counsel to Councilmember Marion B. Tasco. He also served as counsel to the Philadelphia Gas Commission chair and the Committees on Finance and Public Health and Human Services. Prior to working in City Council, Councilmember Green served as the Deputy City Solicitor and Housing and Community Development Divisions of the Corporate Group of the city's Law Department. As the Deputy City Solicitor, he represented offices of Housing and Community Development and Neighborhood Transformation Initiatives, Commerce Department, and Vacant Property Review Committee, and annually drafted, negotiated, and reviewed over $100 million in housing and economic development contracts funded by the city, Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Additionally, Councilmember Green's legal experience includes positions as Assistant District Attorney in Philadelphia, Assistant Deputy Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He is admitted to practice law in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the state of New Jersey. He is also a graduate of the University of Virginia and Temple University School of Law. Before becoming an attorney, Councilmember Green was a consumer and small business lender for Meridian Bank. He also served in leadership capacity in a number of civic and professional organizations. Councilmember Green and his wife Sheila co-founded the first autism support class at Houston's elementary school to support other autistic children like their son. To aid families affected by autism, they are the top regional fundraiser for Autism Speaks. With this illustrious career, background, and achievements, I am proud to turn it over to Councilmember Derek S. Green.
Well, thank you, Valarie, for that introduction. You make me seem a lot older than I am with all that stuff. Sometimes it's hard to believe some of the things that we've done in our past until someone actually reads them. But I thank you for all the work that you do and for your membership and your leadership of this outstanding organization. It's a pleasure to be here. We're doing this in a different capacity than normal. Normally I would be at a meeting presenting to you all, but we're using all of these technology platforms like we've been doing so often over these past number of weeks due to COVID-19. So it's a real pleasure to be here this morning and provide some information regarding an initiative that I recently was able to pass along with my friend Monique, who is here from the city, as well as others in the Chief Administrative Office, who really been helping to push the initiative forward about why we need to do more business with cities located in the city of Philadelphia. And this is such a pressing time to have this conversation and to have this discussion, considering all of the unrest we've had in the city of Philadelphia, especially in response to the tragic killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. And more than ever, and this has been part of my platform since coming into city council, is that we have to address poverty in our city. And to me, the best way to do that is by growing businesses in our city of Philadelphia, especially businesses of color, especially African-American and Latin businesses in our city. And I think what we need to do is have the city do more business with those businesses in our city. If we can grow businesses like the businesses that are part of this organization and help them become even larger, they'll help to hire more people in our city and help us to address our poverty rate. And so that's why I was proud to partner with the city on this legislation, the Local Business Purchasing Initiative. The regulations and legislation just went into effect as of July 1. And so for me, I'm going to give a little overview on this legislation, but really the purpose for me is to listen to you, your members. I think the best way we receive information is by listening. And so often I try to get out of City Hall as much as possible. Now, due to COVID-19, we can't do that. So having this platform and having this opportunity to talk with your members is a great perspective for me, because it allows me to learn challenges that you have in doing business with the city. In addition to the information that Valarie provided, I've also been an entrepreneur myself and understand the challenges in trying to grow a business, as well as not only being a lender for small businesses, I've also, as an attorney, represented small businesses. So I come from this perspective with some background and understanding some of the challenges in growing businesses here in the city of Philadelphia. So the Local Business Purchasing Initiative is an initiative that I think is very important. It was a charter change that was approved by the voters last fall. And the reason why I think it's so important, because it's going to simplify the contracting process for local businesses doing business with the city of Philadelphia. It'll increase access by removing some of the barriers and encouraging competition, and also allow us to reinvent tax dollars back into our local community. And that's needed more than ever, especially due to COVID-19, and any way that the city can be an economic engine to help grow our businesses and do more of that, that's what we need to do. So the main crux of this legislation and regulations is really to change the dollar thresholds. For many of small businesses, doing an RFP is a very challenging process. It takes a lot of time and energy, and you're not always guaranteed that you're going to win that contract. In addition, I think many businesses, especially businesses of color, African-American and Latin businesses, have been really discouraged from doing business with the city of Philadelphia. I think many people feel that in the past that I'm not going to get a contract that only goes to the same people over and over and again. And so what we tried to do with the Local Business Purchasing Initiative is to change the perspective on how we do contracts, especially for some of our smaller contracts. The city of Philadelphia, prior to this initiative, any contract over $34,000, we had to do an RFP. And for many small businesses, based on that backdrop I just provided, doing an RFP process takes a lot of energy and time. And so what we did was, for contracts now up to $100,000, if you're a local business enterprise, you don't have to go through that RFP process. If you're not registered as a local business enterprise, then any contract up to $75,000, you will not have to go through that process. So it really gives an incentive for those of you to become registered as a local business enterprise with the city of Philadelphia. Also, this process is going to reduce the contract process. One of the other challenges we've often heard in reference to doing business with the city of Philadelphia was how long it takes to approve a contract. So the goal is to go from about 110 days to 30 to 45 days through this process. Also, with our Local Business Purchasing Initiative, we're looking at much less paperwork, and that's also a reduced burden we're trying to do for small businesses. And so this process will, I believe, increase access by removing these barriers and really encourage contracting opportunities for small businesses, especially your members. We're also going to be taking our small contract opportunities and have them located on one website. That's another initiative and thing that we've often heard from businesses trying to do business with the city, was just the time to try to navigate the city website in reference to how do I find out about contracting opportunities. And so we believe that based on these things, we will be able to help increase the amount of small businesses doing business with the city of Philadelphia. You all know that our small and our local businesses are the backbone of the city's economy. More than 84% of the businesses in the city of Philadelphia have fewer than 20 employees. And for every $1 spent on procurement in Philadelphia, an additional 50 cents is generated for our local economy. And so these are things why we think we need to do more opportunities using the local business purchasing initiative. And just to let you know that in FY 2018, the city awarded over 800 contracts under 100,000, which were worth over $15 million in total. And so these are often the entry points of coming into business with the city of Philadelphia by getting that first contract. And by taking this initiative, we believe that we'll be able to make it easier for businesses to do business with the city of Philadelphia. As I said earlier, a lot of other cities have a much higher threshold. I think the city felt we were way behind what other cities have been doing. For example, in San Diego and San Jose and New York, their threshold is $100,000 or higher. And for the city of Philadelphia to have a threshold as low as $34,000 in the old ways really put a burden on small businesses. And we felt by making this change, it'll make it easier for them to do business with the city of Philadelphia. So some of the contracts, for example, that are under $100,000 on the professional services side are all the contracts you could possibly think of, from research, analysis, and consulting, sustainability contracts, architectural, a lot of the professional services that you could think of. On the goods and non-professional services are a number of products and programs that are available for small businesses. And so I'm going to close with this and kind of transition over to Monique to give some more perspective and context. For me, I think this is the first step on what we need to do as a city to do more business with the members of this organization. We have a lot more to do. Previous to the local business purchasing initiative, we also did best value, which is another way to make it easier for small businesses and actually businesses of color to do business with the city of Philadelphia. And so we're going to continue to look at initiatives like best value, like the local business purchasing initiative and others, but we really need to hear from you. And we need you to hold us accountable. Me as an elected official, I say that I've been rehired by the citizens of the city of Philadelphia twice, but we really need to get your input and your ideas. As business owners, you have seen the challenges that come along with doing business with the city of Philadelphia. You've also probably done business in other jurisdictions. So when you have best practices, other ideas, other concepts that can help us as a city to do more, we look forward to hearing from you. So feel free to reach out to me and let's continue this dialogue and conversation. Valerie, thank you.
Thank you, Derek. I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Green.
It's fine. I was born Derek. I'm going to die Derek. So I'm used to hearing Derek from my name. So I don't get caught up with titles or any of the other stuff. So
no problem. It's hard when you see somebody walking their dog. You say hi to him one way and you're on screen, and you have to remember that that also he's a well-regarded member of our city council. We want to give him that due deference and respect. So again, thank you, Councilmember Green, for that. I want to encourage everyone to please use the chat to submit your questions and comments. We're starting to see some questions come through, and I'm taking them down as our members of our team who are monitoring the chats as well. So please use that vehicle to submit your questions and comments. With that, I'm going to now turn it over to Monique Nesmith-Joyner, who is the Procurement Commissioner for the City of Philadelphia, who's going to provide some additional insights into the city's procurement process, programs targeted to local and diverse businesses, and resources available to companies seeking to do business with the city. Again, remind you to use the chat to submit your comments and questions. Monique, I'm going to turn it over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by piggybacking on Councilman Green speaking about the local business purchasing initiative. So thank you so much, Councilman Green, for spearheading the initiative and getting it to the point where the voters accepted it and we're ready to move forward. So in terms of application, there are 3 levels of the local business purchasing initiative. There's a micro purchase, which is $34,000 and under. There is the $34,000 to $75,000, which is open to anyone. And then there's a specific category, $75,000 to $100,000, that's specific for these local business entities. I would encourage everyone on the call, if you have a headquarters within the city limits, or if you are outside of the city but do 75% of your business in the city, or have 60% of your staff working and living in the city of Philadelphia, you are eligible to become a certified local business. We will share some information through EMSDC regarding how to become certified as a local business after the presentation. But there is an advantage, certainly an advantage, and there is an advantage for all businesses, but specifically for MWDSBE businesses with this initiative as well. We're looking to increase participation. We're looking to increase our sourcing and the diversity of our sourcing. And we're looking to highly engage departments in finding other businesses, not the normal run-of-the-mill businesses that they've been engaging with for several years, but we're asking them to certainly pay close attention and expand the pool of businesses that they contract with through our local business purchasing initiative. Both the procurement department as well as the contracts unit. The contracts unit handles the professional services. We're providing guidance to departments as to how to identify, outreach, and contract with local businesses. So this is a true effort from all ends of the city, Office of Economic Opportunity, our contracts unit, the council, as well as my department, procurement, and our chief administrative office. The other thing I'd like to touch on is the contracts hub. The councilman spoke about a unified single source for businesses to find contract opportunities with the city. We are launching by mid-July a contracts hub. You will be able to reach this contracts hub from various sources on various websites, on the city's platform. So if you go to phl.gov procurement, you'll be able to find the link to the contracts hub. We're also creating a single link directly to the contracts hub, and we'll be able to give you that tagline when we send the materials out after the presentation. On Contracts Hub, every opportunity for the city will be in this one space. You will no longer have to go to PHL Contracts just to find procurement opportunities, or eContract Philly to find professional services, or RFPs online to find some of those smaller RFPs. Everything will be housed in this very easy to use, very straightforward, very Google-like, because we live in this Google environment, very searchable contracts hub. I'm very excited. We worked for almost a year to put this together to make sure that it suits the needs of the businesses that we've heard from and the needs of the city. So I'm very much looking forward to that launching, and we believe that that will reduce barriers to accessing contracts, that contract opportunities with the city. One of the other things I'd like to mention is that the procurement department is working with the mayor's office to figure out how we can utilize social media more readily to also announce opportunities, contract opportunities, both on the professional services side as well as procurement. So we recently found that there is a Twitter handle specific to contracts for the city. I'd like to start to access that, or utilize that, excuse me, so that we can blast out opportunities of all sorts, any kind of information regarding contracts, actually not just opportunities. So hopefully that'll be coming up soon. We are diligently working to make that happen. Also, we're working with the Commerce Department to identify departments with which we can host matchmaking events. A few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I participated, prior to coming to procurement, participated in a matchmaking event for our Office of Innovation and Technology. It was held over at, through the University of Pennsylvania at one of their facilities. It was a robust event. There were several offices that were looking for innovation and technology opportunities to develop their business side. And there were a host, I believe over 200 vendors that participated. We'd like to replicate that. As the councilman said, we need to get out and hear and see what is available, have vendors also understand what the city is looking for, maybe in 6 months, in 9 months, in a year, so that businesses can prepare. And maybe in some instances, if your smaller businesses come together so that you can bid on an opportunity with the city. I'd also like to touch on something that may not usually come across in a presentation, but we need to be realistic about COVID. We need to be realistic about the challenges that the city is facing in terms of budget as a result of COVID and what impact they may have on contract opportunities. As you all may be aware and have seen in the news, that the city had to significantly reduce their budget by several hundred million, 749 million to be exact. That certainly is going to have an impact on contracting for the city. I've already seen where some of our public works in particular contracts are being delayed, bids have been canceled. However, there are a number of opportunities that will still move forward. The city of Philadelphia is the city of Philadelphia. We must provide programs. We must have services and initiatives. We must move forward with some business as usual, and that creates opportunities. So rest assured that there will be opportunities for vendors to engage with the city of Philadelphia. I have put a couple slides together of opportunities that are available right now. And again, we'll release that through EMSDC at the close of this presentation. So I am also very willing and open to your questions and your comments. I'm excited to participate in this panel today and look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Commissioner Joyner, I want to thank you again, both you and Councilman Green, for participating. We do have a number of questions that I think will really keep this conversation going. And so I've kind of grouped them together. If you guys have seen my eyes or hands moving furiously, I've grouped them together. And I want to touch on a couple of things that Commissioner Joyner, you said initially. And there was a question about if the city had a system to provide automated emails for new contracts, so we're notified when there's a new opportunity. Yes. Other agencies provide this, and this helps businesses like CACs with less marketing and business development resources to find opportunities. So we did speak to creating this centralized one page where all new opportunities would be listed. Because I know e-contracts Philly can be kind of burdensome to navigate, even as an agency. You know, when we're looking for opportunities to support these businesses from the city, you know, having to figure out which department is issuing the opportunity can be burdensome. And then you also spoke to utilizing social media. So yes. How do those things work?
Okay, so pardon me, the Contracts Hub will be the place where all city opportunities will be, you'll be able to access them there. You will, again, it's very user-friendly, it's very colorful in terms of, it looks like what you would see for a job posting. It's very, very user-friendly. In terms of being able to receive emails, if you'd like to receive an email about an opportunity, you would need to register with the individual systems. That part is not changing, unfortunately. So for procurement, service supplies, equipment, and public works opportunities, as well as concession opportunities, you'd need to register on PHL contracts, which is just as our city's procurement, our electronic procurement system. Once you align your business with one of our codes, it's an NIGP, it's a commodity code, then every time an opportunity is let that matches that NIGP code, your business or whoever you designate through the system will receive an email alert. Anytime we make a broad scale change to the system, you will receive an email alert. That is a current function of our system. E-Contract Philly is a little different. E-Contract Philly is on our professional services side. And I do believe that it also sends out emails, but the functionality of it is a little bit different. And that actually isn't my side of the house, but it does send out emails, but it's a little bit different than PHL contracts. But if you register in those systems, registering for those systems is at no cost. Oh, I'd also like to add that registering as an LBE is of no cost to businesses as well. But if you register in either of those systems, you will receive emails when opportunities are let out that are aligned with your business.
So then the next question is there a step-by-step guide to the procedure for participating in the city contract? Because that would be very helpful, is what they're saying.
Yeah, so I can include that. I can include something I basically can include a PowerPoint that we present monthly during the Doing Business with the City presentation through the Office of Economic Opportunity. It talks about the types of procurement, small order purchases being those smaller dollar thresholds. It reviews RFPs, which will be anything above $100,000 if you are anything above $75,000 if you're not contracting with a local business, and anything above $100,000 if you are contracting with a local business. It reviews best value opportunities. It reviews all of step-by-step through all of the procurement methods that the city engages in. So I can certainly send that information out, but registering in the systems is a start. It gets you for the feel and the flavor of what the city is looking for. It also allows you to see what the Contracts Hub will do that our current systems don't do, is it will actually categorize where these opportunities are, if they are a small order purchase, which is that 75,000 and below. It categorizes that. It also has a filter for LBE only. So you'll be able to see the opportunities that are specifically targeted to local businesses. You'll be able to see those that are RFPs, which is a little bit of a longer, process that requires evaluation and things of that evaluation committee review, I should say. So the Contracts Hub is going to make it easier for the access and the understanding of how we let contracts out.
Thank you.
And Val, if I could jump in, because I'm looking at the chat, there are a lot of questions in reference to the criteria for being a local business enterprise. Okay. So, and I'll just briefly go through that, and I'll try to put a link in the chat area on that certification. But basically, a company that is headquartered in Philadelphia can get a local business enterprise certification or local business entity certification. If the business is not headquartered in Philadelphia, it must meet two of the following requirements and provide supporting documentation. More than 60% of the business's full-time employees must live in the city of Philadelphia. These employees must list Philadelphia as their address on their city annual reconciliation of employee wage tax. More than half of the business of the full-time employees work in the city of Philadelphia at least 60% of the time. And finally, more than 75% of the business's gross receipts reported on their business income receipt tax come from the city of Philadelphia. And I'm going to go and put that link into the chat box. I saw a number of questions about that. Oh,
I got it, Councilman. I'm putting it in as you're talking.
Okay, good. I just know that a lot of those questions are regarding criteria.
So the follow-up to that question, Councilman, is what's the city's view on using businesses that are non-local? Because that's one of the questions.
Well, you know, we have been doing that for some time. And I think one of the purpose of this local business purchasing initiative is that we have not had a strong enough push for looking at local-based businesses. I think in the past, and this before Monique became the procurement commissioner, the concept generally was, you know, we got to get the best product or good from wherever. I think we always have to get the best product and good quality, either product or service for the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. But we also have to realize that the resources that the city is using to buy these goods and services are coming from taxpayers like myself, like you, as well as business owners who are in the city of Philadelphia. So I think this is an initiative to do a much more focused attempt at trying to use the resources that come from local residents and local businesses to buy goods from businesses based in the city of Philadelphia. We're still buying goods and services from those outside of the city, but I think this is a focus that we really have not had in the past on looking how we can use the resources that come from city residents and businesses based in the city of Philadelphia to buy goods at the best quality and product from businesses based in the city of Philadelphia.
Another question is, are there any incentives built into this program to encourage businesses that may be outside of the city to locate inside of the city to be able to engage with the community, with the city?
So the incentive actually is on the procurement side. That is the way our city regulations are written. You can take a look at it, 17109 of our charter, of the code, excuse me, of the Philadelphia Code. The incentive is a 10% preference on contracts that are under $1 million. So this, again, I want to preface that this is only for procurement. This is only for goods, services, equipment, and public works. This does not include professional services. Right. So the way that it works is all procurement must be awarded to the lowest bidder. What the preference allows is a 10% markdown, if you will, on your quote so that you can be awarded. So I'll give an example. If it is a $50,000, if your quote is $50,000, you'll be given a 10% $5,000 markdown. So at the point of evaluation, it will state that your business's quote is $45,000 as opposed to $50,000 in order to make a local business the lowest bidder, if that makes sense. So when we go to do business with you, we will do business with you at the $50,000 level. But in order to award the preference through the preference, award to the lowest bidder, through the preference, it gives you that 10% discount, 10% local preference. So that truly is the incentive for businesses to become registered as a local business, to do business with the city and receive that preference. Again, that the regulations are written such that that is specifically for procurement and not for professional services.
So I'll go back to thank you, Commissioner. Councilman Green, in terms of a policy, you know, we create incentives for larger companies to locate inside of the business for the purposes of attracting their tax base and their employees. Is there any type of policy incentives that are being designed to attract more diverse businesses? I love the 10% preference, but what is it to attract from a tax standpoint, from an abatement standpoint, to bring small, diverse businesses back into the city limits or to have them locate their secondary headquarters in the city?
At the legislative level, we're often looking at a lot of different preferences that we have in the city. We recently did a study about a year ago in reference to all the different incentives that we have as a city. But I think some of the suggestions that the comments are providing are actually some good ideas that we should look and evaluate, and how we can take some of our existing programs, that they can be tweaked or expanded, provide this type of incentive to really bring businesses into the city of Philadelphia. There's an initiative I'm working on with the Commerce Department, as well as a number of other entities called the Philadelphia Global Identity Project. And what we're trying to really do is market the city of Philadelphia, not just to the region, not just to the nation, but to the world, but all the benefits we have in the city of Philadelphia for business to be located. And so to the extent that we can look at some of our incentives and find ways that we can attract, especially diverse businesses of color, African-American, Latino businesses, Asian businesses, women, disabled-owned businesses to come to the city of Philadelphia to maybe joint venture with our local businesses. That will help both businesses to grow. We need to look at that. I think these are some ideas and concepts we have not always thought about. And so we need to find ways to bring as many businesses to the city of Philadelphia as possible. And from my perspective, one of the reasons why I've gotten involved in not only the local business purchasing initiative, but also the Philadelphia Global Identity Project is that, often people are looking for opportunities to make a greater return. And so many of the traditional businesses have only been investing in partnering with businesses they've historically done. So we need to do a better job of talking about how partnering and investing, especially with businesses that are members of this organization, provide a better growth opportunity for businesses. Many of the businesses, they've been investing in the same businesses over and over again and getting the same meager returns. And I think so often when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it becomes a feel-good idea, but not really an economic opportunity. So I think about someone like a Bob Johnson who started BET, and he was a lobbyist, a telecommunications lobbyist in DC. He was able to go to John Malone of TCI to get him to make of Liberty Media, to make an investment into his company, a $10,000 investment, which became hundreds of millions of dollars for John Malone. So how can we do the same concept of encouraging more businesses to partner and invest in the members of this organization and others as a greater return and opportunity on that investment? I think that's something that's missing. That's also something that's part of this conversation we're currently having regarding the unrest in our city, in our nation.
I would agree. And I think that we're having it at a higher level than we've ever had it before. I have a question. How are we addressing businesses that are virtual? There is a question in here. My partner lives in Westchester. I live in the city of Philadelphia. Their business is virtual. How are they eligible for LBE certification?
That concept may be a bit more progressive than we've actually thought out yet. I will actually take that down and have a conversation about how we handle virtual businesses and what the eligibility requirement would be. And we would have to work on creating something. Our current regs don't address that, to be honest. But thank you for that question. That's a great question.
Yeah, especially in this current.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, during the current climate of COVID-19, when so many people are now working from home, Monique talked about the budget deficit that we had this year. At one point was $649 million. It ballooned to $749 million. A good portion of that is that a number of people that traditionally would be working downtown but live outside the city of Philadelphia, we're not able to collect the non-resident wage tax. So we're going to have to really think about how we do things differently. I think the question about the virtual perspective is something that's very important. Since we've done so many of these Zoom and Skype and WebEx calls, we're engaging in ways we've never done in the past. And it reminds me of one of my earlier calls when we were having a conversation with the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. and we had some representatives from McKinsey and Co on the call, and they described, their management consulting firms that are doing all these type of different analysis, and they describe COVID-19 from a 5-stage perspective. The first stage is resolve, like as if you tripped and you're just trying to figure out what happened. The next stage is resilience, where you realize you tripped and now you're trying to kind of get yourself back to what happened or where you were before you tripped. And then the third phase is return. We in the public and private sector will focus on the resolve, resilience, and return. But we also need to think about the last 2 phases that I talked about, which is reimagination and reform. Reimagination, from the perspective of how can we come out of this COVID-19 health crisis and economic crisis in a new way? And how can we reform the city of Philadelphia? So having these conversations, ideas like things about virtual businesses and how that applies to not only the local business purchasing initiative, but other ways of how we do contracting with the city of Philadelphia gets to that reimagination and reform, because we're going to be changed coming out of COVID-19. It generally takes about 21 days or a little more than 3 weeks to change a habit. We've been sheltering in place since late March. It's now July, and we're going to be sheltering in place or doing work remotely for a period of time going forward. So ideas like the virtual businesses and other things and how we can do things better are why these conversations are important. So we as a city, both from the legislative side and the executive side, like Monique as Procurement Commissioner, can look at how we can reimagine and reform the city of Philadelphia.
Excellent. Couple more questions. There's a lot of interest around the LBE, but I want to ask this one question. Is there a second-tier program for non-minority or non-diverse crimes working with the city of Philadelphia? And how does that show up for diverse crimes?
Is there a second-tier program for non-diverse crimes? No, so the way that we're rolling this out through the guidance that we're providing to departments is that there will be a single solicitation as opposed to a multi-tiered solicitation. There'll be a single solicitation, but again, that the preference and the overall preference, not the 10% preference that I spoke of, but the overall preference is to identify local businesses that the city can engage in doing business with. That is what we are promoting. That is the purpose of the LBPI initiative. And that is what we're putting forth with departments. So there is not a second tier, if you will, of solicitation to non-diverse businesses. It will be, when the solicitation goes out, it is an open solicitation. But through the guidance that we're providing to departments and the review, specifically on the procurement side, to ensure that small businesses, minority women, disadvantaged, disabled-owned, veteran-owned, LGBTQ businesses are being considered and highly solicited is a requirement of the review. If a department has not done that, if they have not solicited to those groups of businesses as part of guidance, we will send it back. We'll kick it back out to them. Businesses, diverse businesses must be solicited for these solicitations under 75,000. The local businesses, again, are specific to the 75 to 100,000. Those are LBE only.
So then I guess the question also speaks to outside of the LBE program and the directed procurements for the diverse veterans, LGBTQ, all of those categories of umbrella organizations. In the general procurement process, is there a second tier program for non-minority businesses to engage with diverse businesses? It's basically the goals.
Yes, so there's participation. Our procurements are reviewed by the Office of Economic Opportunity and ranges are set by the Office of Economic Opportunity. It is based on, again, availability as they know it. So there are some best and good faith effort opportunities, but the majority of them have ranges that are anywhere from 10% to I've seen as high as 35% participation. And that is across the board. That is for not necessarily the small order purchases, but anything in this instance, anything over 100,000. If it is RFP'd, all of our RFPs have participation goals. For all of our public works have high participation. And our procurement best value, all of our procurement methods also require participation goals to be set by our Office of Economic Opportunity.
And then there's another question regarding bidding. So we know that in the COVID-19 environment, bidding has slowed down or come to a stop across the board. There was a specific question around when will the water department's bidding start? But the question becomes really generically or generally, when will the city get back to a semblance of normal bidding cadence?
So we've been bidding throughout COVID. It has been at a slower pace. And due to the significance of our budget reductions, it may continue for a while to be slower. I spoke earlier about receiving some cancellation notices for bids. Several of them did come specifically from our public works. So I am anticipating a slowdown in our public works, specifically those that are not grant funded. I do think that we will see a slowdown in our public works opportunities. Again, I will submit through the EMSDC the available opportunities for our professional services, concessions, regular procurement, as well as our public works. I have a slide deck ready to send out to this group once the panel has closed. But we do have opportunities. There may not be as many. It may not be as robust as normal because of the current climate that we're in and our budget constraints. But we're looking to bounce back. There may be some emergency bids that come out from the water department, based on things that happen in the city and based on some of their anticipated needs in the city, some things that may have, they've been mending that truly need a full-on fix. There may be some emergency opportunities that are forthcoming. But you will see a bit of a slowdown. It will not be a stoppage at all. There will be a bit of a slowdown with contracting, because of our current climate. But yes, we are bidding. And to that end, on the procurement side, we are hosting virtual bid openings. We've been doing that since the beginning of April. So included in the opportunity, once it closes, there is an amendment that posts the WebEx invitation for vendors to participate. And as long as it's not a restricted bid, even if you did not bid and you want to just get a feel for what our bid openings are like, you can participate in those in the WebEx opportunities.
And Val, if I could add one other thing, one other initiative that Monique and others in the city have been started a couple of years ago, but we've been somewhat delayed, especially because of COVID-19, is best value. This is a concept that, historically we've had things like lowest responsible bidder. Well, a number of cities have what's called best value. And this is something that we brought to the city of Philadelphia a few years ago, and we're trying to roll this out through various departments. And what best value does, it allows you to use other criteria other than just the lowest responsible bidder. I've been fortunate enough to serve on the board of the National League of Cities. I'm involved in a couple other national groups, National Black Caucus of local elected officials. And when I talk to some of my colleagues in other parts of the country, they've been using best value for years. And what it does, it allows you to use other criteria other than the lowest responsible bid process for procurement. So you can have an entity that has historically been the lowest responsible bidder, but may have had a system of not really using the minority contractors that they have included on an RFP. So it allows us to use a lot of other criteria other than the low responsible bidder. And I think this is another initiative that can provide more opportunities for members of this organization, others, especially African-American, Latin, and other MWBEs to do more business with the city of Philadelphia.
Excellent. A couple of questions around where do we get these services. So I'm going to say, first of all, EMSDC the city is a strategic partner with EMSDC. It has been for multiple years. If you are certified by EMSDC, you are eligible to register with the City of Philadelphia through the Office of Economic Opportunity. There is no additional process. You simply go into OEO's registry and you submit proof of certification with EMSDC. And so that takes the burden of having to go through a separate certification process. We also have a first-time certification fee reduction initiative that it was actually started with the City of Philadelphia. We rolled it out to all first-time businesses seeking certification who are what we call Class 1, that is businesses with revenues less than $1 million. We've reduced the fees so that your certification fees are reduced to $300. In this age of COVID, if for any reason a business is struggling and needs support in seeking certification, particularly if it's related to a contract opportunity, you have to just reach out to EMSDC, notify us, and we will make the necessary accommodations. We will never allow certification to be a reason why a business is not afforded an opportunity. Everything that the city shares with us will be made available to every member, every registrant in this call. But not only that, we make all of this information available on our website. Because of the strategic partnership that we have with the city, if we get contract opportunities, they go into our portal. They also get pushed out in our link and in our Open for Business newsletter. That was really important because I see that a lot of people are asking, how do I get registered? How do I find information? And you can use EMSDC as that conduit to information. We will push everything out that we have talked about here today. You should also go to the Office of Economic Opportunity, to their website, OEO. It's phl.gov/OEO. There's all of this information that was discussed there is also discussed here is also available on the OEO website. There are multiple tiers of information, but we are all here to support you. And you will get a copy of this recording as well as all of the links and PowerPoints as a result of being registered. If you need to contact anyone at EMSDC, you can go to info@emsdc.org, or I can do what I always do, which is give out my email, vcofield@emsdc.org, and send information, questions directly to me, and I will have myself or a member of my team respond. Mr. Jackson, we will make sure that you have step-by-step support.
Yes. Yes, and I just wanted to add that we have customer service staff readily available to walk any vendor through how to submit a quote, how to register. Prior to COVID, we held monthly trainings for vendors for how to register for PHL contracts, and again, how to submit a quote. We can certainly go virtual with those trainings. We have not done that yet. But thank you for your question, Mr. Jackson, your statement rather. Perhaps we should go virtual and host those opportunities. But we do have customer service staff readily available. Should you need any support, I'll make sure to include the contact information. It's actually phlcontracts@phila.gov. You can just email and someone will reach out to you, but I'll be sure to include that information. Councilman Green was just asking if I had any closing remarks. I just want to make sure to state on this call that we, between the councilman, the Office of Economic Opportunity, the Chief Administrative Office, the Professional Services Unit, and Procurement, we have a focus on the local businesses, as well as a focus on increasing participation for MWDSBE businesses. We are being intentional in our conversations and in our guidance and leadership with departments to ensure that that diverse businesses have access. We're working on several initiatives and several ways to change the normal course of business in the city. It will take time for us to get there, but there is a group of folk that are intentional about making this happen. I believe that now is the time It is very divine in nature, the way that the what has happened in our society, number one, but also the players who are at the table. It's a little different than it has been in the past, and we're very hopeful. So I'd like, you all have been patient with the city, I know, for a number of years, but I'm asking that you hold on a little bit longer, and we hope to make you proud. We're certain that we will.
Councilman Green, I want to give you the last word.
Oh, thank you. I just want to thank both Monique Nesmith-Joyner, our Procurement Commissioner, for the work that you've been doing. It's been great to partner with you in your role as you try to increase opportunities here in the city of Philadelphia. Valarie, I want to thank you for your work and leadership of this outstanding organization. You know, you've got a lot of experience in the construction industry, and you've brought all of that experience and what you've been doing with Intech to this organization and really grown it in an outstanding way as a diverse entity that covers both sides of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank all of the participants on this webinar. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation. In the chat box, I provided some information on how people can contact me. One other means that people can reach out to me is also through LinkedIn. I provide a lot of information on LinkedIn based on my experiences that I talked about before in reference to how to do business, not just with the city of Philadelphia, just doing business as a whole. Because I think with our high level of poverty, the best way we're going to address poverty is by growing out of poverty. And we'll be able to do that by growing the members of this organization to become much larger entities in the city of Philadelphia, and that way they can provide leadership and mentorship for that next generation of businesses for them to grow as well. So thank you for this opportunity. It was a pleasure to be with all of you this morning. So thank you and take care.
Thank you all. Thank you, Councilman Green. Thank you, Commissioner Joyner. This has been such an impactful day and a wealth of information. You will all receive a copy of this video and answers to your questions later this week. Thank you so much. Everyone be safe, be smart, be vigilant, and continue to work hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, take care.